Welcome back. Now we're inside, and we're first thing we come to is our control panel. So our Rockwood series here actually has a cool new control panel that they've just started. This actually has an app that you can download from your phone, and you can walk around the outside of your unit while you're putting your slides out, while you're putting your awning out. You can operate all these options through the app on your phone. But basically what we have here is your panel power button, which you press and hold to power up. You've got your gauges here, which will tell you how full your battery, your tanks, everything is. And then from there you've got, your entry light, porch lights. You can run through and operate your slides, awnings, water pump, your water heater, gas or electric, whatever you prefer. This is your main center of operation for the RV. All RVs have some sort of control panel with slide buttons and things of that nature. Rockwood has this design. Most have a different design. Some will also have apps or a remote. Others do not. It just depends on what you have. Again, a little bit of research into which style you have, but they'll all have a control panel that you come to operate your main lights and slides and things. While we're here on the side, we have a Wi-Fi Ranger switch. So what that is we turn that switch on, that sends power to our Wi-Fi Ranger mounted on the roof. And what a Wi-Fi Ranger is going to do is basically, it's not going to create internet, it's not going to create that kind of access. It will pull it towards you. If you're at a campsite that the camp store has its own Wi-Fi, but you're just out of range, this, if you turn it on, will help pull that signal and bring it to you so you can be in your camper using the Wi-Fi from the camp store. Now, with that being said, it's not going to have its own signal strength either. If the camp store has great signal, you'll have great signal. If it has bad signal, you're going to have bad signal. It's going to be dependent upon the environment around you, what is currently accessible. But below your Ranger, your Ranger switch, there's usually a network ID, a password, an IP address. It gives you that basic information to log in and identify your specific Ranger. Alright. So from there, we're going to come over to our TV. TVs are going to be operated off of the 110 power. You do have to be plugged in for them to function. What you're going to do is, so you have two options with your TV, either cable or antenna. Antenna option is going to be air channels. It'll find that in your local area. So you have a power booster here. This power booster right now is on, which is allowing our antenna to function. So from what that means is we're going to turn on our TV. Here, I'll turn it this way so you can see. And once we start up here, we're going to go to our menu. We'll go down to our channels. You'll select your channel option, and then your tuner mode will be either antenna or cable. Cable is only going to be used if you're hooked up at a campground. They have cable, you have a coax running from their hookup to your trailer to your TVs. So that's when you want to use that. You'll switch this tuner mode to cable, and then you'll go down to auto channel scan, and it'll scan for the cable channels. Again, if you're using your antenna instead of cable, you'll do the same thing, except make sure your tuner mode is antenna. Go down to auto channel scan. That will begin to scan for channels in the area. The biggest difference when you're using either antenna or cable is with your power booster. The power booster here, you see the green lights on. That means our antenna is active. When we're using our antenna to find channels, we want this active. If we're hooked up to cable, we press that button, we want the LED off. We do not want our power booster active. If the power booster is on, your cable channels, if you're trying to use cable, will probably be very fuzzy. You won't get much of anything. And vice versa, if it's off, well, if it's off, you're not going to get your antenna channels. You want it off to use your cable. So very important to know which setting this is on when you're trying to operate your TV, based on how you're currently hooked up. All right. Below that, we have our radio. So you've got your power button, you've got your zones 1, 2, and 3, which for this trailer is going to be the front living area, the bedroom, and then the outside speakers mounted on the wall. So you can operate any combination. You can do all of them. You can do 1 and 3, 1 and 2. It's purely up to you. Not every trailer is going to have 3 zones. Some will only have 1, some will have 2. It just depends on how that trailer is wired and the design and layout of that. But again, if you do have zone options, you can operate any option or any amount of zones at any given time. All right. Along with that, a lot of the radios will either have USB, HDMI, aux in. You've got your mode button to change between those, Bluetooth options, as well as functioning as a regular radio. It can do a multitude of other things. A lot of times they are not wired into the... Sometimes certain models are not wired into certain speakers. There's theater mode, which is becoming more and more common, which radios are wired into the ceiling speakers. Sometimes they just come through a sound bar. You'll have to do research on your specific model that you're interested in to know how it's laid out, so you know what to expect when the music starts to play, either through TV or through the radio and their DVD player, which is also built into this. It will have a DVD player that will most likely play through the soundbar. Alright, so from there we've got our fireplace. You do need to have your 110 accessible to operate this. Your power switch is right here, and then this button will actually turn on and off. You've got a dimmer for your lighting, your heat setting, your temp, and then your timer. So you can kind of set this up and customize it to how you want it to be. Some models and some trailers, something to be mindful of is they're on the same circuit as the microwave or water heater, and you'll have a switch to toggle whether you want the furnace or that other appliance to operate at the time. Most of the time it's in a obvious spot on the wall and it's labeled that the switch is for going between fireplace and microwave. It's just something to be aware of, just so you know. Certain models have that, a lot of them do not. It just depends on what you got. Alright, so our residential refrigerator here, in place of this, in most trailers you're going to have a gas or electric refrigerator, along with they're starting to come out with some 12 volt refrigerators that operate with a compressor. That's very new. Most don't have that unless you're getting into 2020s and beyond. The basic gas and electric, though, what's going to happen is you have either gas only mode, which of course is going to operate on your propane. As long as your propane's full, your lines are going. It will run through a cycle to ignite, and you can run your propane as you travel down the road if you're in storage and you need to get it ready for a trip, because these do take 12 hours to get to their approximate correct temperature. Not 12 hours every time, it might be a little sooner, but generally it's going to be a good rule of thumb to start it the day before to get it cool, to be ready for whatever food you're going to put into it. Again though, gas only mode is what you can operate off of to travel, or to get the system ready if it's not at home, if it's on a storage lot. And then beyond that you have an auto mode. What auto mode is going to be is it will run off of electricity as long as that's available. So if you're at home, at a campground, wherever you are, auto mode will run the cooling unit off of the 110 power that's supplied. Once that is lost, if you're in auto mode, it will automatically kick over to propane. So if the power goes out, if you come unplugged for whatever reason, it just depends. Whatever happens, the propane then will switch over automatically. That way your food stays good, your refrigerator continues to cool. You don't run into any kind of incident where things go bad. And again, like we covered outside with the inverter, residential refrigerators, they do need that inverter to run while you're traveling, or they need to be plugged in at a campground or at home to function. And then another feature about the residentials is with winterization, they'll either have water dispensers in here and filters, or they'll have ice makers, which this one does have an ice maker in this corner. Those are items that need to be winterized when it's time to winterize your RV. Even if you shut off the valve out there, you need to make sure that the lines are drained and filled with antifreeze first, as safe antifreeze. That way your refrigerator is winterized correctly. Alright. So from there we'll head over to our stove and oven. So we've got a Fury Magic Chef stovetop here. So what this is again, it's a propane appliance. Some will have an igniter on the side here. Some stoves still need to be lit with a charcoal lighter. Depends on what you have. Again, do your research, know what you're getting into. But for this one, you're gonna switch over to your light, and then you're going to give it a spark. Now, right now there's not propane in this system, but what's going to happen once you bleed your lines enough and propane, the air is out and the propane starts to fill these lines, you'll then hit your spark, it will ignite, and your flames will catch, and you'll be good to go, and you'll be able to use those appliances. The oven down here has a pilot light as well, which operates off of this spark ignition as well. So you'll have to come over here, hold in to release the propane into that pilot, and then once there's enough propane through, you can then spark this and it will ignite, hold it for a couple seconds, and then spin over to the temperature that you want. The ovens usually take a little bit longer to light, and you usually have to hold them in to allow more propane through for a couple seconds longer to make it stay lit. That's just how they function. So it's something to be mindful of and not get frustrated by. You just have to give it a little more time to prime and a little more time for the flame to stick once it's lit. Alright. Let's see. So above us we've got our fan and light for exhaust, and then we've got our microwave here. I usually just recommend when you're traveling, keep your glass tray in a drawer wrapped in a towel somewhere rather than just in your microwave. You're going down bumpy roads. If you hit a pothole and your door happens to swing open, it's just a little safety thing to keep that from falling out and damaging itself or the floor or whatever it might find its way across. So that's that. In the corner there on our countertop we have a charging center, 12 volt USB, and 110 outlets there. Right here we've got our kitchen sink with a divider. You've got your faucet with the extendable hose there. And then down below is just, a bunch of cabinetry, storage, pantry. The two things we do have down here are going to be, number one, our GFCI protected outlet. There's another one located in the bathroom. Some trailers have two, some have one. It depends on the trailer. But basically, if you're plugged in, you should have power to the unit, but you're having trouble, things aren't working, this and the GFCI in the bathroom are going to be the first things that you want to check to make sure they're not tripped, because they will cut power to everything else to protect the unit. So give those a check, make sure they're good. Down here as well, we have a propane and carbon monoxide detector, which is wired in. Most at this point are wired in. Some are still battery operated, I believe, but it's been a while since I've seen one of those. Most of them are wired in, which is a big reason why a battery disconnect is a good thing, because even when everything in here is turned off, not running, being wired in, this guy's still drawing power. There's minor draw from this and one or two other things throughout the unit. So pulling that battery disconnect to the on position so the key is out, that will separate the battery from this, and this will not draw any power. Because again, if you don't have a disconnect, if you don't unhook your battery, this will continue to draw and drain your battery. Alright. Around here we've got our dinette table, which has an extra piece here. You got a leaf that will slide out. If I can figure out how. It's got a snap on it there, so this will pop up into place. Some of them have it, some of them don't. Again, it's an option thing. But you have your dinette table there. We've got our couch over here, which has a couple cool things. You've got your little writing table there. You also have a cup holder with either vibrations. You've got lights for your cup holder, and it will also activate heat for the seat as well. So there's a couple different options of these couches out there, but they all kind of have similar effects. There's a Thomas Paine line as well and things like that. But alright, we also have, for all the shades throughout this unit, you have day-night shades that are slow rise. Alright, and that's throughout this unit. Some have pleated shades that you pull down and push up manually. It just depends, but that's a good thing to make sure you tuck away when you're traveling, just so they're not, flapping around too much. The more drawn up tight they are, the less they're smacking against framing and the wall panels and things of that nature. Next thing I'm going to show you is your couch. So a lot of trailers come with some sort of pull-out bed in their couch. So we're going to lift this up, pull out towards us, drop our legs down. There we go. Now we're going to fold this down, and then if you chose to, you could put the cushions on the back here or have your own pillows, whatever you'd like. But you have a sleeping option here for if you have visitors, if you're taking anyone camping with you. Something else to point out while we're here, next to the fireplace, I should have covered a little bit ago, is your converter and breaker box. So this is where your 110 comes and converts to 12 volt to the rest of the coach and to charge the battery. So down the side here you've got a long list of fuses labeled with what they do. Generally you're talking 15 amp fuses is what you'll primarily need. Every so often you'll need a couple of 30s or a 20, but for the most part 15, if you have some of those on hand, will be a good option. And then you've got your breakers over here for your 110 options. So that will show you kind of what items run on the 110 electricity. When it comes to 110 electricity, you can plug in at home to charge. I really would not recommend running anything else in the trailer. The 12 volt system's fine to operate, but I would not run 110 options at home when you're plugged in. It may draw too much amperage, blow breakers constantly. It's more of a headache than it's worth. So I would just 12 volt system and plug in at home to charge and leave it at that. All right. Over here we've got our thermostat, RV Comfort thermostat. There's Dometic. There's a bunch of different ones. The general gist of it is a lot of them will operate at this point both furnace and AC. Furnace is a propane only appliance. You do have to have your propane open filled to operate that. That'll light through a spark at the furnace. And furnace will put heat out through the ductwork laid out in the floor or low levels throughout trailers. It's not something that you'll ever see up high. The air conditioner is ducted in the ceiling. Some of them are not ducted. They're just a dump into one room, which usually you see that in trailers with 2 air conditioners. You'll have one that is ducted, one that's just dumping into one room. So for the function of this, you have your system, which will switch between cooling and heating. And then you'll notice that you also have your zone button to switch between zone 1 and 2, which will be the front and rear. All right. And then from there you have your mode, which will switch between your gas, electric, whatever options are available in your RV. Some air conditioners come with heat strips installed. Some air conditioners are also a heat pump. Depends on what you've got. Generally, it's an air conditioner and a furnace, but there are other options out there. And that's just something to be aware of. Again, you'll operate all that through your thermostat. There may be multiple thermostats in a trailer. This model here can generally operate multiple ACs and furnaces from itself. A Dometic thermostat, you're going to kind of see one per room because it's designed to operate that one AC unit. So just keep that in mind. We're going to step over into the bathroom now. Alright, so in here, you see your other GFCI outlet. Again, if that trips, that's something you want to check if you're not having luck with any power. Let's see, you've got your normal sink, hot, cold. Down here, your toilet. How that's going to function is they're pretty much all the same. You've got a lever that goes halfway down to push water through the bowl. All the way down will flush and empty the bowl. All right. Let's see, your shower over here. You've got your shower lock, which pretty much all shower doors have a shower lock on them, which you want to make sure is engaged during travel. Hot and cold in there. The one of the newer features that's really I've seen on primarily Rockwoods. I don't think I've seen it on anything else just yet, but it's called a shower miser, which is this addition right here. It's a piece between your faucet and your hose and your shower head, and what that is really primarily used if you're dry camping. Basically, it's plumbed so that water will, when you're using your pump, water will go through your lines. It will go through this faucet, and when that valve is closed, it directs the water to go back into your fresh tank. And when the valve's open, it will come through the shower head. Now, the reason they do that is because if you're dry camping, water's limited. You don't want to waste water, and when you're waiting for your water to get hot, you're usually wasting some cold water. Now, with that redirecting water back into your fresh tank, you don't waste that cold water, and then this blue piece of plastic over there that you see, that will actually turn all the way white when the water's hot. So once your water's hot, you no longer want to redirect it into back into the fresh tank. You open that valve, it comes out your shower head, and you have hot water, and there's no wasted water. So from there, we will move to the bedroom. And in here, you've got your ducted AC, which are each of these circular ports that can be spun and redirected in really any direction you want to do. You've got your TV backer. This is one of those stickers I was talking about. There's support put into the wall for the TV mount to go in that area. You don't want to stray too far from that. Your power and your input or your output for TV. Let's see. Your bed here, you've got a couple overhead reading lights. They are push lights. And then the ceiling is operated through a light switch on the wall. Cool thing about your bedroom here, you've got your 2 drawers. You also have access to the exterior storage compartments so you can get to that from inside or out, whichever you need to do at the time. As well as you see that it comes with your outside grill and the bracket for the grill. Alright. And let's see. I know in this model, especially with Rockwoods, in this compartment here, there's your water pump and your water filter housing. A lot of Rockwoods come with a water filter housing that need the filter installed. If you don't get a water filter with your unit, chances are that a water cartridge is not installed within the plumbing of the trailer, and at that point it's up to you to decide if you want to install your own water filter in line with the hose or whatever you prefer to do. So at this point, I think we've about covered everything with the trailer. Again, do your research on, what trailer you're getting, because options are a little different depending on what trailer you're working on or looking at getting. So just do your research, and then if you have any questions, give us a call. Thanks for your time. Bye.